Hello everyone, and welcome to this Miradore webinar. Today we'll talk about Android management methods. My name is Lassi Pekkarinen and I'm a senior technical engineer here at Miradore. Let's have a look on today's agenda. First of all, my colleague Kjell Eilertsen will present you an Android management methods and their use. And after the presentation, we will have a live session for the questions and answers. So if you come up with any questions during the presentation, please type those into the question box in the webinar tool, and we'll answer the questions after the presentation part. So shortly about today's presenter. So my colleague Kjell works in Presales engineer here at Miradore. He's located in Stockholm, in Sweden, and working mainly for the Scandinavian region customer cases. So as a pre-sales engineer, he knows our products and common technologies and helps our customers and sales in many cases, from product demonstrations to implementations and technical consultancy. And Kjell speaks fluently Norwegian, Swedish, and of course English. But to keep it short, let's start with the presentation. So Kjell, it's now your turn. So here you go.
Thank you very much. As you can see from my screen, hopefully, we will be talking about Android management methods, but we'll also be touching upon enrollment methods. And this is because these go quite hand in hand. How you enroll an Android device will actually tell you something about how it will be managed, and how you want to manage the device will set certain limitations on how you can enroll a device. So, but first of all, let's have a look at the management methods. First up is the Android device administrator method. This requires you to install our Miradore online client on the device. This is true for all the management methods. And through this client on the device, you will get access to a few management opportunities and features. One of these being encryption. You will get access to location tracking. You will be able to set a passcode on the device. You will be able to push things like contacts, shortcuts, and Wi-Fi profiles to the device. There's also support for app installations, but keep in mind that this is from the consumer Google Play Store. This means that the user needs to be logged into the Play Store app on the device to be able to receive the app. Or you could potentially also push an APK, but this would require you to put the device or turn on the unknown sources feature on the device for the installation to go through. And it also means that there's no silent installation option. The user must actually accept the installation of the app. Furthermore, restrictions are not supported when using this method of management. This means that you cannot stop the user from unenrolling and wiping the device. And for this reason, among others, we do not recommend using this management method in and of itself. The enrollment, the management method is useful still for getting into something called work profile, but we'll touch on that in a little bit. Next up, I'll just mention a few words about Samsung Knox. What Samsung Knox is, it's an extra layer of management features added on top of Android. It is supported on a selection of Samsung devices. So it's not supported on every Samsung device, but you'll usually find that on the box. It does work with device administrator, as we just spoke about, and it also works with work managed device or device owner mode. So let's get into Android for enterprise and work profile. So what is work profile? Work profile puts a sandbox or a secure container on the device into which every app that you push to the device and all the information that you push to the device is contained within this secure container, within this sandbox, and it limits. You get to set the limits on how much information can go outside of this sandbox and how much can go inside. So you separate the company data from the user portion of the phone. We do, however, lose a bit of control outside of the device. We still get access to things like we can force encryption on the device. We can force a passcode on the device. We could push Wi-Fi profiles, and we can enable location tracking. But outside of that, you actually have no control over the device itself. So the user can still unenroll and wipe the device, and there's nothing you can do about it. This also means that you cannot use this feature with Samsung Knox, so they are mutually exclusive. And the intended use case for work profile is bring your own device. So basically, if someone wants to bring their own phone to work, be it their personal phone or a phone from another company, they're a consultant and so on, you could install this work profile, this sandbox on their device, and keep control over the company data on the device through this work profile. Next up is work managed device, which also is known as device owner mode. This gives you full control of the device, so you can limit what the user can do with the device. You can stop them from enabling unknown sources. You can stop them from enabling USB debugging, from wiping the device, and so on. This does work with Samsung Knox, so the extra features from Samsung Knox can be used in conjunction with a device owner or a work-managed device. And the intended use for this is company-owned devices. So we're not saying that you have to choose work-managed device if it's a company-owned device, but this is how Google has intended the use of these two features within Android. So let's have a look at the enrollment methods then. As I mentioned, they do set the limits to how you can manage the device. First up, with Android Device Administrator. This is a so-called post-setup enrollment using our Miradore online client and using something called enrollment credentials, which you can make within the online portal. After you have gone through the entire startup process of the phone, so from the welcome screen, you go through all the wizards and accept all the terms and conditions and so on, and you finally at the home screen of the device, you can install our client through, for instance, the Play Store. But that would require you to log into the Play Store using a Play Store account. Alternatively, you could sideload the app, and sideload, in case someone doesn't know what that means, it just means installing it from anywhere else but the Play Store. So from a SD card, or downloading it from the server, or from a online resource. You could start the installation of this APK package, but this does introduce you with some warning for the user that your phone might be vulnerable to attacks, and this is in fact true, because if you enable unknown sources, you could accidentally download apps from the web which are malicious. Credentials mentioned that you need. These are Miradore online credentials, not to be confused with email accounts and such, but these can be created and sent out from Miradore online via email or SMS to the end user. We do not recommend using this, as I've already mentioned, and one of the reasons for that is also that Google is looking to deprecate this management method, but it's still useful for getting the device rolled into work profile mode. So looking at Android for Enterprise and work profile mode, how you would go about enrolling that is also a post setup enrollment, doing the exact same steps as the device administrator mode. And then after the device has been enrolled, you could, within Miradore Online, find the device, and if you look at the bottom right corner, there's a create managed Google account / work profile for this device. If you want to automate this process a bit, you could also, during the enrollment process, you could add the tag AFW to the device or to the enrollment credentials, and that will automatically start this process of work profile enrollment as soon as the device has been enrolled. Next up, we have work managed device, aka device owner mode. It's a pre-device setup, so as opposed to the two previous ones, this is something that you do before you go through all the steps of the wizard. So at the welcome screen, you can start either start the setup wizard and use the DPC token, which means that you start going through the steps, and as soon as you get to the step where Google asks you if you want to log into your Google account, you could enter AFW #Miradore, and that will kickstart the process of enrolling the device into device owner mode. So this will download our client and start the enrollment. This requires you to also have these Miradore Online credentials for enrollment. The next few methods do not require these credentials. So next up, we have QR code. So if the device is running Android 7 or newer, what you can do is at the welcome screen, you tap on the welcome text 6 times. This will launch a QR code reader, which will allow you to read a QR code from within Miradore Online, and that will also kickstart the enrollment of the device into device owner mode. Last but not least, we have NFC, and I would say this is the easiest way to enroll an Android device into Miradore Online as of today. This is supported from Android 5 and newer, and it could be done using 2 phones. One phone that would read the QR code, and then our Miradore Online provisioning app to beam the NFC data to the next device to start the enrollment. Or you could prepare an NFC card, which you just introduce to the back of the device at the welcome screen, and that will start the enrollment process. One of the nice features about this is that you can also include things like a Wi-Fi profile on this card, so it automatically connects to your local Wi-Fi network, downloads our client, and starts the enrollment process. So I'd highly suggest looking into this if you're going to enroll a lot of Android devices. And that was pretty much it. That was everything I had to show. So I'm going to hand it back to Lassie now for some questions, if you had some, and I'll try to help out with answers. So the scene is yours again, Lassie.
Okay, thank you, Kjell, for the presentation. So let's move now to the questions and answers part. Let's see if we received any questions into the question box.
There was actually a question coming in. How can we set up the enrollment with the DPC token? I'm not sure I fully understand the question. The DPC token is already set up. So all you have to do is start the set the process on the device, start swiping through the options, connecting to Wi-Fi, choosing a location, and so on. And once you get to the step where it's asking for a Google account, you add the AFW #Miradore as an account name, and that will kickstart the process. What you will need is these enrollment credentials. So inside of Miradore Online, you'll have to go and create credentials for the users that you want to enroll devices for.
Yeah, so I guess the DPC token actually kind of bypasses the need of typing in any kind of end user Google account to the device, but to enroll the client to connect that to Miradore Online, then that uses those enrollment credentials still. So
yes, that's correct.
good.
And this is built in. This is a feature which is part of the partnership between Miradore and Google, so it will work on any phone.
Yes.
There's a question in Finnish, so perhaps
Yeah, that's a question in
translate.
Finnish. The question is that a person missed the beginning of the webinar presentation. So the question was actually that will this be available later on? So that was actually something I was actually moving on. So so the webinar has been recorded, and the recording will be published on our website after the webinar, probably tomorrow, I'd say. And then you will receive this link to the webinar in your email. So maybe we can provide also some further information if we come up with that. So you can listen to the webinar as a recording then as well.
And don't hesitate to reach out to us if you come up with questions in hindsight. We are more than willing to answer any questions.
Okay, there's actually more questions coming in, so this is good. So first one, or the next one, is that if I have registered the device with the user's own Gmail account and the device is wiped, will it require that account to reconfigure?
That's a good question. I reckon you're thinking about this, the problem of registering the device to the Google account, so it's actually linked to this Google account from now on. Sadly, the answer is that if it is linked to this Google account, you will need that account to disconnect that device from the account. That's just a security feature from Google and Android's end. So there's no getting around that. But the good part about this, if you start using device owner mode and enroll in that way, you will not have this problem anymore. You can allow the users to log in using their Google accounts, but you will remain in control of the device. So this is one of the reasons why we highly recommend to enroll any company-owned Android using device owner mode.
So I guess the advice for the devices that have the end user Google accounts linked would be to first remove that account through the phone menus. So under the accounts, settings and accounts, you can see the account. So to remove that first and then wipe the device. Of course, this is not possible if the device is, for example, lost. But in that case, it's also might be a challenge to re-enroll it if you don't know where it is. But that's a good question. Yeah, that's the safety feature included on the Google side. So I guess there was also more questions. There's a question about that. Do we have our own MDM solution based on Knox SDK? Do you want to answer that?
Yeah. Well, we have our own MDM solution. The Miradore Online is a fully in-house product, but we have implemented support for Samsung Knox through their SDK and API. So we've added I won't say all because you never know what happens tomorrow, but some of the features from Samsung Knox have been added into Miradore Online, so you can use those features from within Miradore. And to go directly to the next question from the same participant, what are the features of our MDM? That's a big question with a long answer, but
I guess we can provide that information as an email link, for example, so we can store that question and then come back to you after the webinar. So
yeah, but basically, if you know what MDMs are capable of doing, then most of that you will find within Miradore Online. What can be done with an MDM is very much up to Google and Apple, and what they allow us to do, or not us, any MDM provider. So we're in their hands as far as the features we can implement.
There was one more question. If there's hundreds of Samsung tablets, what would be the fastest way to enroll all of them? What would be your choice?
Well,
I guess it depends on the kind of scenario, of course. That would it be?
Yes, that's very scenario dependent, and I'd urge you to get in touch with one of our sales reps, because they can help with finding the right solution for you. But if all these devices do have NFC support, I would suggest that making an NFC card is the absolute fastest and easiest way to enroll all the devices. But it really depends on the device itself. Does it have NFC capability? What version of Android is it running?
Yeah, and if you need to enroll them into the work profile mode, then for example, NFC is not an option. So it's a different scenario then.
True.
So, but yeah, that's good advice. I guess that it's good to be in contact with our sales representative, and then we can definitely help in these scenarios. One more question coming in. Is there a way to bypass the once again enrollment of a SIM card change?
I must admit that I'm not fully understanding the situation, because I have not encountered that you have to enroll again after you replace the SIM card.
Yeah,
this might be a device-specific feature, like some device manufacturer has implemented some feature.
Yeah, might be. I'm not aware of that either. So, but I guess we can try to find out. If we find out information, we'll link that to the email we are sending you.
Yeah, and yet again, not to sound like a broken record, but do get in touch with us on that, because and give us the details. What kind of device is this, and describe the situation in more detail, and we will be more than happy to try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, it's been a pleasure to get all these questions. If you still have one, you can type that in, or if not at this session, then please be in contact with us. So you can find our contact information from our website, or then you can use, if you have the Miradore online site yourself, you can use the contact us box in the user interface to contact our support, and they'll route the question wherever it needs to find its way. So please do that. And we are also happy to receive feedback about the webinar, about the content, and also if you have wishes or ideas for the future webinar content you would like to see. So let us know. We try to provide the information you need.
Yeah. Well, seems there was no more question for this.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for joining our webinar today. It was a really active session. So thanks for the questions, and we'll send you that email later on. So thank you for joining, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.